It's fun. Great stories. Nils offered to help with the demolition activity of our home when we were remodeling. And he came over, and I had just bought my first Sawzall, and I was so excited. And he was equally excited to help me learn how to use it. And once he said, just be careful, we're on the roof, you know, we had removed like 3 layers of composite roof stuff, and we were on the roof trying to remove something, and sitting on the wood, you know, the roof. What do you call those? You know what you call those. Eric knows what you call those. The rafters, thank you. And the last thing he said was just be careful, don't put your foot through the sheetrock. Within 30 seconds, I had put my foot through the sheetrock, and he laughed, and I just thought that was so cute. I cussed him out. Okay. Well, another time Nils came to our house to help cut down a dead tree. I imagine many of you heard this story, given how proud he was with the results. This was no small tree. It was about 30 inches at the cut line, right? I had 20-inch saw, so there you go. I sharpened my chainsaw and I handed him my brand new chaps. And Nils precisely researched and measured the exact location where he was going to make that cut. The cut pattern, the angle of the cut, as though he were a surgeon. He cut the tree and it fell exactly where he had intended it to fall. He was giddy. He was elated. He gloated. Many conversations after that, it was always about what a great job he did cutting down that damn tree. He was like a little boy who had just ridden his bike without the training wheels. I did not mention to him that he nicked my new chaps. I thought better those than his leg. His family tribe was always front and center. He loved his brothers and their extended family, and he spoke highly of them, and he visited them whenever he could. So I would like to invite.
Well, I have a couple of letters to read from friends that couldn't attend. This is from Cher Mahler. Words will never suffice to describe the honor of my good friend Nils, nor are they adequate to express how much I'll miss him. He was my friend for 60 years. We met at a drinking fountain in 7th grade. He enjoyed telling stories of our meeting. I asked him to stand somewhere else because he made me look too tall. Of course, he hit a growth spurt in 8th grade and went on to play high school football. We tried one date in high school, a drive-in movie. Stuffed into his VW Bug, he put his arm around me, and with as much finesse as a testosterone-driven boy can maneuver in a VW Bug, he tried to kiss me. Oh my God, what are you doing? We both laughed and concluded right there in an adult-like wisdom that we would be far better suited to just be friends. Over the years, we've had road trips, we've met up to explore distant cities, we've danced at high school reunions. Nils and I spoke almost every week for the last 10 years. And I know I will never stop thinking of him, never stop missing that quick wit, corny jokes, lengthy letters, cartoon text, postcards, sartorial updates, baseball devotions, food and book reviews, spelling glories. He knew her well. Birthday cards, gentle wisdom, and so on and so forth. I last saw Nils. We were fortunate enough to spend 5 days together doing what he loved best, going to baseball games. 3 spring season games in 5 days. She lives in Florida. On the departure, he had a cabbie drive by the marker commemorating Babe Ruth's longest home run hit. Sitting on the bleachers at a field a couple blocks down the street, smoking a cigar and talking to me on the phone, he would say, This is heaven on earth. So Nils, I hope there's an endless game and plenty of hot dogs wherever you are. So that's Cher Mather. Another one from Mark Stewart. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I was a teacher for a long time. Used to yell at kids. I've been friends with Nils for a long time, all my life. Before grade school, my family moved to a new subdivision in the far western part of St. Louis County. It was a subdivision of small, simple frame houses. Lots of big lots of mature trees that were perfect for climbing. The Nilssons lived across the street, and we soon became good friends with Nils and his family. We were play pals for my entire youth. Through grade school, we continued to spend much of our time together. When Nils spent a year in college in England, we corresponded by letters and cassette tapes. I still have a Soviet Navy belt buckle that Nils traded some Levi's for while visiting the Soviet Union. By his late 20s, Nils was restless and soon found his way to San Francisco and joined AA. This is where he says, this is where I belong. He told me shortly after moving, I have always enjoyed hearing Nilsson's view on current events. Nils was a good listener, a quirky sense of humor, and he always made me laugh. I'll miss him. This is from Mark Stewart. Keep going, guys, bear with me. This is from his friend Peter Holter. I don't know, a lot of you may know Peter. While unfortunately I cannot be at the gathering, I do want to share with the spirit of the day and remember Nils for who he was and for all he did for so many people. I met Nils 39 years ago. My life was coming apart at the seams at breakneck speed. Searching for a solution, I met Nils in a room full of people who would not normally mix. In my confusion, I will never forget Nils reaching out to me and telling me, with good cheer and humor, there's hope. As he did with so many, Nils was living proof that I did not have to endure the agony of the way I had been living. He threw me a rope. Little did I know that the rope would become a strong thread of close friendship which grew and became richer over the years. For that, I'm extremely grateful. While Nils's body has left us, his spirit, his energy, his devotion to service, kindness, compassion, and yes, the bad jokes will live on. I'm finding a theme in these. Thank you, Nils, for sharing yourself and your journey with so many of us. You are a part of a long story that will continue on. The many people that you have touched in your life will continue to be influenced by you. The history of the world would not be the same if you had not been in it. You are a note, a necessary note, in a beautiful song of life. Wherever you are, I hope there's a lot of great baseball and a good cigar. With love to you, Nils, for many friends gathered here today. And that's from his friend Peter Holter. I have one here from my cousin that I had to print off this morning. And I couldn't, sorry Steve, I can't translate the whole thing, but Steve was our cousin, and he enjoyed Nils's company. Nils always gave him a hard time. When we had a pool in the backyard, when we were kids, and we'd play Marco Polo, Steve would be saying Marco, while we all would get out of the pool. That's in here somewhere, but not quite as nice. We went to Hawaii to visit Steve when he lived there, and we drove up to the North Shore. And while we're there, we're unloading the car. Nils, in a hurry to go, slams the trunk. And Steve says, my keys are in there. And Nils says, what kind of fool puts his keys in the trunk? So we get the back seat out, we get the keys, and then that's over. So that's about it for this note. Sorry, you can't write better than that. Well, I'd like to start with my eulogy part here. I wrote this, and I almost have it memorized, but I'm going to look at it anyway. My name's Eric. I'm here with my brother Brad, and my family's here. His wife Karen, son Chris, my wife Diane, my sons Lucian and Matthew, my granddaughter over there, and Matthew's the one that went to Finland with him. Jim Stetham is here, his wife Donna, and his sister Ann, and little baby Amy is here. These are all friends of our family that made it out from St. Louis to come here. And Jim's father was Nils' first AA sponsor, way back in the day. So Nils, he led a wonderful and, as you know, secretly troubled life. He was born in 1952. He was very happy as a child. He had a dog named John Henry. He got to sleep in the house, in the room with him. Dad taught Nils how to hunt, fish, camp. And then, according to Nils, his happiness started to dwindle in 1958. And then, adding insult to injury, in 1959, we had another brother. I know what Nils was feeling. So, the dog now was an outside dog, and Nils wasn't getting all the attention. Well, Nils played Little League Baseball as a catcher, and his mitt is out here somewhere. He loved Boy Scouts, and Nils always found to strive to be the very best. He had to be good at what he did. So he had swimming badges. We were at a lake, and he was taking the swimming test. In Boy Scouts, they have a rowboat out there with him as he's swimming across the lake. Like, how hard was this? When I was in Boy Scouts, we swam up and down the pool. Now, anyway, he did a great job. He got a swimming badge. In high school, he played football and wrestled. And he was well respected for his size and strength. He was 200 pounds in high school. Very, very strong. At one of his wrestling matches, the basketball coach, who, like Nils, brought the team in through the gymnasium and made them all sit and wait while Nils wrestled. Nils wrestled. Of course, he had to win his match. He won. The team got up and got to get them on the bus. My dad and Nils would go out and hunt and camp, and Nils was a very good shot. I remember his first rabbit and his first deer. That was a big deal for him. Brad and I didn't have to worry as kids. We had Superman with us, gardeners. He's 6 years older than us, and we could do anything. He'd take care of us. So one night in particular, Nils is in charge. Mom and Dad are out playing cards somewhere, probably at the Stethams' house. And Nils comes up with an idea. He calls us in nighttime, come on in. No, we don't want to in. I got an idea, Eric. We're going to have a BB gun war. And whoever wins gets to make the decision. Okay. So I'm 8 years old, he gives me his little pump. And he's got a brand new crossbow. Right? So he pumps it up and he decides he was going to shoot me in the butt, but then he decides, oh, I'll shoot him in the arm. That's in the arm. So I'm crying and crying, and we go into the bathroom and get out my dad's razor. You know the kind you have to unscrew and pick out, got a razor blade on both sides. And he's starting to cut up my arm. It's all puffed up because, you know, the impact of the bullet forces the meat up. So he starts to carve. He calls me a baby. He says, I'm gonna have to call Mom and Dad, you're gonna get in trouble. He calls Mom and Dad, and he got in trouble, so he broke his old BB gun. He kept it good. Anyway, they didn't take the BB out, it was in too deep. But like I said, Brad and I didn't have to worry. We were in perfect hands. Right, the surgeon, I guess he had a first aid badge in there, something like that. This is the page. Oh yeah, here's a swimming badge story for you. We go to this campground, Big Bear Resort. It's in the Trail of Tears in southern Missouri. And we're looking in the pool, and I'm looking down in the pool, and my younger brother pushes me in. Nils to the rescue, he pulls me out. Life-saving badge, right? Okay, well, we don't tell Mom and Dad. So we're up there again, and so Brad, being the smart one, hey Eric, come on over here. Again. So once more, Nils pulls me out to the rescue. So Nils went off to college. He went to Evansville, Indiana. In the first year, they had a program to go to Harlington Manor in England. So he did go over there to Harlington. He sent postcards and birthday cards to people he still is friends with in England, right? And so anyway, he did go to Russia, across the Iron Curtain back then, for those of you that remember, right? He did trade Levi's, and I thought I was the only one, but I got a belt buckle too. I heard an earlier story about a belt buckle. But he traded Levi's for those. He traveled everywhere. He just enjoyed traveling. He was so positive about it. He went to every state in the U.S. except Alaska. For some of you, you might remember this. In the 70s, he made arrangements to go to Canada. He said, it was cold in Canada, but there's no draft. Some of you remember that. Nils went through 4 passports, several times in Mexico. He went to see baseball in Japan, Panama, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and still smuggling, but this time cigars. He went to Dominican and bought Dominican cigars and switched bands on them, and then shipped me back the Cuban cigars for him. Yeah. And he did go end up into Norway and Sweden. Sweden's the only place where you could check into a hotel and they spelled his name right. Nils Nilsson. He was very proud of that. He went ice diving in Iceland. He was very well read. The ice diving picture is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Big long picture. I was a science teacher for 20 years, and he's got a picture when I knew he was going through the continental divide, or the oh gosh, darn, now I forget what they're called. Tectonic plates, yeah. I made that sign for him, and so he's swimming through the tectonic plates. It says, hey, Eric's flat. Here I am. So that was very cool. Yes. Very cool. Anyway, that was cool. He was well read with many foreign authors, and he got a kick out of characters that were named Nils. He loved to travel and to go to places from his books. He even bought a pair of shoes that Jack Reacher had on. He had shoes from everywhere. He was in Portugal, Spain, France, Belgium, Germany, Poland, Austria, Hungary, the Czech Republic, Switzerland, Italy, Turkey, and lastly, Estonia and Finland. When he was in college, he transferred to Tulane, and then to Webster University for a master's. And through high school and college, Nils lived a life of drugs and alcohol, rock and roll. He saw the Doors, Hendrix, the Stones, and later he really got into jazz. He still listened to his favorite rock tunes. He enjoyed old movies, It's a Wonderful Life. That DVD was still in his DVD player when we went up to clean out his apartment. He protested the Vietnam War his entire life by not standing for the national anthem at baseball, of all places. So he hated the inequality of the equity system of our government. He loved baseball, and from a small boy at Sportsman Park in St. Louis to the first night game at Busch Stadium. He went to Harry Windelstadt School of Umpires. He was a local umpire for 30 years. He commented on umping kids whose dads were in the stands that he umpired for them. And spring training was a big deal. He had several friends. He would go to Arizona or Florida and watch different teams and even see kids try out for the big leagues that he owned. And he would take pictures with them and then send them to their mother. What a guy. Now, I was going to change this line a little bit. He spent some time in St. Clinton. He went out to baseball umpire games in St. Clinton. He really appreciated the professionalism, and they really appreciated it, or he really appreciated their gratitude for him coming out. Another major event in his life was the annual AA conventions. AA saved my brother's life, and I am so proud of him for that. 46 years. what he's accomplished, being sober and living his life to the fullest. I want to thank you, all of you who are here and helped him on that journey. It's just amazing that you were able to save him like that. The depression that he suffered is a big deal, and his humor and all that is how he tried to hide it. And he did it well, but you know, he was depressed a lot. So if you have depression, I hate to sound like a survivor, get some help there. He decided to come out to San Francisco because of the people, the diversity, and most of all, the intellect. He had a great sense of humor, in my opinion. He saw humor in everything, and he would say you can't have a funeral without the word fun. Well, Nils and Brad and I, while Nils was out here, while Nils was off at school, Brad and I became certified scuba divers. We took lessons together, and we broke every record there was, Brad and I. They stood for years. And then, Nils took lessons at the same location. It broke all our records. Yeah. Nils and I dove in Hawaii together while visiting my cousin Steve. 8 years later, he came to visit me in Jamaica, where I was living as a scuba instructor. A year later, I had a mild case of the bends, and I was still in Jamaica, and having an x-ray in my shoulder, I was in a very large, open waiting room. And the nurse calls out, "Eric Nilsson." I stand up. Of course, now remember, I'm a lot taller than most people there also. I stand up, she says, "You ever been shot before?" Of course I say yes. "The bullet's still there?" "Of course, yes, right here." So all these mothers start cuddling their children away from me. "Okay, I'm here." That was the best part of that whole getting shot thing. Nils had all kinds of fun things to do. One thing he had for us to do, he invited Brad and I out here for the adventure of a lifetime. We were going to climb Mount Whitney. It's the tallest mountain in the United States. No big deal. So we rent all the equipment. Nils rents it, he pays for it. Brad and I come out in hiking gear. Let's see, we stop. We're heading for a peak. It's 6 days, dehydrated food, exhaustion, altitude sickness, and freezing cold. As we're attempting the summit, I'm jettisoning my equipment because I don't need this trip. Brad and Nils are picking it up. They're carrying it for me. So we get up to the top, and there's a cabin, a stone cabin on the top of Whitney. It had an iron shutter that banged all night long. It was windy and it's banging and banging. So we pitch our tent inside this little bitty cabin. Throw our sleeping bags down. I sleep in the middle. That was the warmest I was for 6 days. I slept like a baby. It didn't sleep so well. So the next morning we get up and we get ready to go down the hill. We're trucking down the hill, and we hear a voice with enthusiasm. "Come on, guys, we're the first ones to the summit. Come on, let's go." As Nils and I and Brad walk by, they slowly move to the side. And Nils says, "Not today, not today." So we get down to the bottom. There's a ranger station, a little campground, and a restaurant. So we flip for who's going to go get the car. Nils has to hitchhike to get the car. Brad and I go into the restaurant, and we just inhale as much real food as we could. That poor barkeep just standing right next to us. Anyway, that was a great trip. I'll never forget that. Nils had a lot of jobs. His favorite type of work, though, was accounting. At Transamerica, he told the story of Fleet Week. He was watching the ships come in, and one of the co-workers asked if it was Russian. He replied, "No, it's traveling at normal speed." He volunteered a lot at Habitat for Humanity, and he worked for local elections. While between jobs, his cat passed away, and a friend talked him into adopting the cat. Is Kelly here? Kelly Montgomery, I haven't seen you. Oh, there you are. Kelly's here. She arranged for him to get a cat, and he adopted Mac. Now, Mac, someone had poured acid on his cat, and it left him scarred. This abused cat bit him and scratched him all time for 15 years. And he just put up with it because he knew that no one else would have Mac. It was through this adoption that Nils landed the job at Berkeley Lab. He really enjoyed walking through the parking lot with 4 reserved spots for Nobel laureates. Mac passed away and Kelly's the rescue again. A new cat. This time it was a loving companion. Nils said it was the best cat ever. It would come up to him, purr, cuddle. He just loved this cat. I got a note here, with fires in LA, you might want to consider adopting a cat. But anyway, Nils and I spoke on the phone every day for 15 years. We spoke so much I got tired of hearing him call. You call that later. When we did talk, he always had a lot of advice. We spoke mostly about my family, and he had advice. He finally understood eventually that there's a difference between being a parent and a bachelor, and that his advice didn't always line up. That was nice of him. He did come out for Christmas almost every year, and he'd come out and he always brought my kids gifts. He just really enjoyed having my kids get gifts and opening up their presents. And we'd sit around, and one year we're opening up all these presents, and my youngest son at the time, Andrew, he gets there and he's, this is the best Christmas ever. No clothes. And then Nils hands him his gift. It's a sweater. Well, Nils lived his life the way he wanted. I think he passed away the way he wanted. He never wanted to be a burden to anyone, and I am a little pissed off at him that he's gone. But with the election results, I'm sure I understand. I want to thank Ruth and Jenny who made all of this possible. They helped clean out his apartment with us, trips to Goodwill in Jenny's car, 5 or 6 trips. And, well, Karen, that's Nilsson's word, Karen, well, you deserve a lot of credit too. Karen kept Bradley and I on track on the cleanup in the apartment. We would get stuck in nostalgia and oh, look at this, and Karen was like, come on, let's go. And Jenny has been there with me throughout. She met me at the hospital on the day Nils passed, and we helped me with the paperwork on donating his body to science, which is a wonderful program. The doctor called me and was crying, and she's thanking me for his donation. I didn't make it. I just followed through with Nilsson's wishes, right? So it's a wonderful program. I do suggest you fill out the paperwork first. Jenny and I were down there trying to fill it out on that day. A little tough. It's a wonderful program. And so what I'd like to do now is invite any other people up to speak before we close out. Kathy, would you like to speak? Let me have my cousin here first. Come on up. See what you mean. Yeah.
I don't have any.
My name's Kathy Vansel. Nils's mom and my mom were sisters. We were the first to be cousins in our family. Some say your cousins are your first friends, so I think that we were each other's first friends too. It might seem unbelievable, but my first memory of Nils, I got you all beat. My first memory of Nils is when we were both infants. We were in my crib because I had mumps, and my aunt wanted Nils to get mumps too. It sounds crazy in this day and age, but back then it was common. Nils loved his family very much and was only a phone call away. I could always count on him to call me on my birthday. He loved to remind me that I was older than him. See, I'm born March 4th and he's born October 9th. We're that close. That didn't matter though. Every year he wished me happy birthday on March 4th, and he told me the same old birthday joke. What day does it command? March 4th. Nils showed me that he loved me in many ways. Just last year I was in the hospital for a month, and he called me every day. He promised me he would, and he did. Nils's calls were funny and interesting and heartfelt. He shared a lot. We shared a lot, and we were very open with each other. I had depression too, I'm bipolar, and it is a struggle sometimes. But he was there for me whenever I needed him. We shared a lot. At the end of every phone call, I would tell him I loved him, and he would tell me that he loved me back. He got so comfortable at it that he started telling me first. It might sound like a small thing, but I love you was the last thing that we ended up saying to each other. It means a lot to me now that he's gone. Eric and Brad, let's call each other. And Steve too. And let's share our lives. Let's stay funny and interesting and heartfelt, open-minded and transparent, and continue to show each other how much we love each other. Let's call each other on our birthdays and let's say I love you the last thing before we hang up. I think that's what Nils would want. And I love you. I love you, Eric. Thank you.